Hello there, and this is Auntie, and I am coming to you to do a review on Iyanla Fix My Life Beyond Repair, Marriage in Crisis Part 2 and Part 3. If this is your first time being here, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. To all of my new subscribers, thank you so much for being part of my channel. And to all of my faithful nieces and nephews who've been here with me from the beginning, thank you so much for your continued support. You know that I love you to pieces. So anyway, we're going to go ahead on and get into this review, part 2 and part 3 of Iyanla Fix My Life. As you all know, we have been looking at these three couples who marriages are in despair. They're all coming to Iyanla to basically make a decision about whether or not they're going to stay together. We saw last episode that Marcia absolutely told her husband Dwight that she was ready to move on with her life, and she did not know whether or not she wanted to continue the relationship with him. And I think that that was, really bold and really honest of her to do that. I think that Dwight had already had fears and knew that, his marriage was basically in disrepair. And I thought that it was a wonderful exercise for the two of them. We go into this episode where we see Yakara, who is speaking with Iyanla by herself. Her husband's name is Lamar. Lamar appears to be a complete and total asshole. He and Yakara have been together for 18 years. They have 3 children amongst them, and she's basically talking to them because when he was in the session, he wasn't present. He was, basically there and just going through the motions of basically really being there. Iyanla asks her, what do you feel like you've done in your particular relationship and how you could have repaired it and everything. And, just how do you feel about this? And she comes to a realization after having slept and kind of processed everything that happened the day before is that she picked the wrong person. Duh. Duh. You picked the wrong person a long time ago. But, a lot of times when we're in relationships, it takes us a while to figure out that, yes, indeed, we have picked the wrong person. And we need to make better choices and better decisions about what we're going to do in our life. Iyanla asks her, what has basically happened over the marriage. She talks about how he's cheated and stuff. And Iyanla says, you know what? Hey, look. He's been doing this. Y'all have been having an on-again, off-again relationship for the last 18 years. He's basically been in and out. There were no boundaries that were set in your relationship with your husband. And so, of course, you still got that on-again, off-again, in, out, not having any boundaries, sleeping with other women, staying out overnight or 2 days or 3 days or whatever the hell Lamar was doing. This had been going on the whole entire time. And so really, basically, if you want more, you have to demand more from your partner. I mean, it basically is what it is. And so, we see that Yakara says that he was disrespectful and she doesn't think it's acceptable. And especially because he is displaying this particular behavior in front of their sons. Okay, so I have never been married, okay? So it's very hard for me to speak from this because, again, like I said, I am that type of person. I would just roll the hell out of the relationship. I've always been that kind of person that I feel like I have to take care of myself. If I'm not a whole and complete person and happy in my relationship with you, then I don't have anything to add to your life. And I think that a lot of times we stay with people out of habit. We're used to just being with them. So we accept certain behaviors from them and we learn how to live, in the confound of that relationship. And that's just never been me. And so I've always believed that once I had my daughter, that it was very important for me to create a healthy environment for her. And so, because of that, I steered away from relationships that were negative, whether or not they were female relationships or whether or not they were men. I stayed away from those relationships because I knew that they just weren't good for me. And so, with this particular woman, I'm just wondering, why is it taking you all this time to realize that this relationship wasn't good to bring kids in? I mean, but I digress. She's been living, of course, you all know, separated from him for a year. She moved in with her sister. And I don't know where the kids are. I don't know if the kids are with him or the kids are with her. Excuse me. But the whole thing in a nutshell is that you both created an environment around your children that just wasn't healthy. I mean, it is what it is. She said that she, basically moved out because of her aha moment was that, she kept talking to him over and over again about him moving out of, not coming home. And so she finally made the decision. How many years did it take for you to make that decision? Okay, but anyway. She says that Lamar is dishonest and that they are not on the same page, and he lives in an altered state of awareness. It shouldn't have taken Iyanla to tell her that. Women, I know that a lot of times it hurts, and we want somebody in our lives, but when does it become about us? She feels stupid because Iyanla basically is letting her know, y'all ain't even on the same page. And Iyanla was like, basically we all have played the fool. We all have had a boo-boo. We all have had a man who we have lived our lives around. That's true. It's absolutely true. She asks her, what if he was just sent for the purpose of creating those 3 children? Or to teach you this lesson? To bring you to a place of awareness that you need to grow up. You need to be over this lesson. Oftentimes I've heard people say that you will continue to learn a lesson until you pass the test. I don't know about that, because God dang it, I ain't going to keep on learning the same thing over and over and not at some point studying what I've learned, what I've experienced, and not having to continue to keep taking the same test over and over. I want a passing grade on it. I don't want to be sitting in a relationship with somebody who just don't give a rat's ass about me. And then I have to keep taking it and flunking the test and getting an F every time because he says something different, or I'm going to change, or I'm going to be different. I cannot do it. I cannot and I will not do it. She says, Iyanla says, I just ended a 14-year relationship myself. I thought that was really bold and brave of her. I know that we have seen her significant other when Oprah Winfrey did a remodel of her home. We got an opportunity to see him. And she said she just ended that 14-year relationship with him because she realized that he doesn't love her the way that she wants to be loved, and that she did not want to be loved that way anymore. She said she stuck around all 14 years trying to see if he would get it, year 1, year 2, year 5, year 10, year 13, year 14. She says, I have all these degrees, and it took me 14 years to realize that this man could not love me the way that I wanted to be loved. She says that, a really good point was that I can't make a person, I can't teach them how to love me. The only thing that I can do is see the way that they love me, and then see whether or not I want to participate. I thought that was so interesting, and I think that that's how I've lived all my life. When she said that, I kind of got an aha moment, because when I realized that people don't love me and don't care for me the way that I need to be loved, I don't want to participate in it. I rose out really, really quick. Sometimes I see that as a bad thing, and sometimes I see it as a good thing, because I could be walking away from somebody who just simply made a mistake. But you know what? At the end of the day, I don't want to participate in any abuse or anything like that. Iyanla tells her not to look at what he did. It has to be about what she didn't do. What she didn't do is, you know, a lot when he started cheating on her the first time, she didn't leave. She didn't make him step up to the plate. When he didn't come home the first time, she allowed him to do it a second, a third, and however many times he did it in the 18 years that they've been together. She says that she didn't want to say anything to him because she didn't want to have a confrontation, and Iyanla told her, she said, but that doesn't empower you. She said what you need to do is rename it and call it a carefrontation. And I really like that. She said when you care about yourself and you care about others, then you have a carefrontation. You have to make sure that you're taken care of. She says you have to teach yourself that your needs are important. And that's where you have to do. You have to communicate with people about, excuse me, how they make you feel. She asked her, do she want him? And basically she says, I love him and I care about him, but I don't want him in the state that he's in now. Girl, bye. You might as well have said no up on that blickety, because you're not going to get a person who's been this way for 18 years to change overnight, or even change in a you know, change quick enough for you to be willing to stay with him. But anyway, I digress. Iyanla speaks for both of them, you know, in her office. You know, she has her little jacket on, acting like she a doctor or a pharmacist. You go ahead, Iyanla. I see you, boo. Do you, boo? I'm liking the role playing. But anyway, they come in and she talks about an assessment that they both had did. And she says to Lamar, you know, how you feel about the process? He says, I feel like a student learning. Lamar know how to say all the right thing. He is such a daggone butthole. But anyway, she says when she asks them, you know, to answer from a scale of 1 to 10, how they feel about these particular things in their marriage, this is how they rank. So she says, when asked about the state of their marriage, Lamar gave it a 1, and his wife, Yakara, gave it a 2. She says, okay, y'all on the same page with that. She says, when, you know, the relationship with oneself, rate that from a 1 to 10. And he rates himself at a 10, and she rates herself at a 4. Your self-esteem, he gave himself a 10. She gave herself a 4. Why do I need to be with you? If you rating yourself a 10 and I'm a 4, we separated and you 10ing out everything. Now y'all ask the question, so why she need to be with you, Lamar? You fine. Let me stay on focus. She asks, why did you stay in the marriage? Lamar says, for the legacy. And she says, because I love my husband, my 3 children, and I want to be in a committed relationship. They are so on the good God Almighty. Iyanla goes on to say that his reality does not make space for hers. The show don't, because his self-esteem is all level high. He tries to make an excuse when Iyanla confronts him about it and says that, you know, from day to day it may change to a 4, and some days it may be at a 10. No. You at a 10. You feeling real good about yourself. You want the legacy and the children, but you don't want all the responsibility that comes along with it. And you know, unfortunately, there are many women who enable men to not take the responsibility for what comes along with fatherhood, what comes along with being a husband. We make excuses and enable behaviors that we should not that we shouldn't enable. It is what it is with them. So, you know, she says he keeps betraying her trust, that she wants to trust him. She makes them face one another and talk about the relationship and about how they feel about one another in there. She says you have to tell the truth about where you are and learn to move forward. she tells him the truth finally and says, I don't feel like you're honest with me. And he says, it's about time you started talking because I zone out because you don't open your damn mouth. Again, enabling behavior by withdrawing. I be goddamn. Lamar goes on after he listens to his wife and he hears the questions. He says, you know what? Basically, we're not on that same page. And Iyanla says, y'all not even in the same book. He tells Iyanla, but we can get there. You know, we able to get there and everything. She said, y'all need some serious counseling, boo, because y'all need some counseling. The next thing we see is Iyanla bring Dwight in because Dwight's wife, Marcia, has outgrown her husband. She is significantly younger than him, and he has been like a father figure in her life, and she basically wants out. Not so much out of the marriage, I don't think, but just out of the control, being controlled by him, dominated, talked to as if she is nothing and still that little young girl that he married. And so she talks to him about basically, you know, telling him, you're not going to lose your wife. You've already lost your wife. He sits in and he talks about, you know, growing up and not having his parents, you know, together in the home. He said that he wanted to always make sure he provided an environment where the kids would be together, unlike what he experienced. And you know, I think a lot of times we stay in broken relationships because we think that if we stay together that this is more healthy, this is healthier for the children. And in all actuality, in all reality, it's not. It's not any more healthier than anything else. Because guess what? The kids see the disparity. They see the brokenness. They understand the tension that is going on in the house. And even if they don't understand it with their mind, they understand it with their feelings and their emotions. And it starts to play on their minds and their hearts when they go to sleep at night. Know that been there, done that. Know that been there, done that. And so sometimes it's just better to just go ahead and separate so that the two of you all can become healthy and whole. But, you know, she basically tries to get him to the place where he is processing that he has basically lost Marcia, at least the Marcia that he used to know, and that he has to let go. And so she does this paper towel exercise with him, you know, because he starts crying and stuff because he has to deal with the reality and his fears. What is it going to look like not being with Marcia? He says that in his previous relationship, he had 2 children, a son and a daughter, and that during the split, he kept the daughter and the wife kept the son, or the ex. I don't know if it was a wife or what it was, but Iyanla tells him, you don't know if that's going to be how it's going to, you know, play out. You really don't know if the children have to make a choice or not. You're making a decision and living in fear and stress. You just got to let go. So she gives him a paper towel and he balls it up and she says, now let it go. And then she rips off another paper towel and gives it to him. And it's just an exercise to let him know that you don't have to hold on to the feelings. You don't have to hold on, crying to that paper towel. Do what you have to do and throw it out and get another one until you get to the place where you don't have to pull from the roll anymore. I thought that was an excellent exercise. It was really good. The next day, Iyanla has a tea party with the ladies, and she wants to see, you know, how they feeling and telling them that, you know, they're going to have to make a decision. The decision has to be made in the presence of their spouse. She asks Yakara, you know, what have you seen any difference? She's asked all 3 of them basically, and they're like, yeah, we can see a difference. Yakara says that she sees that her and Lamar absolutely see things differently. She asks LaGena, what does she see differently? And she says, I thought that my husband was this strong man, and now I see he's a scared little boy. And I don't know how I didn't see that. And she said, probably because you was a scared little girl. Okay. She asks Marcia, and Marcia says that there's resistance. There's a little resistance. And Iyanla said, a little? Okay, crook. A lot. And so, you know, basically they're going to have to make a decision. The next thing we see is them together in group, and they're at the place of decision. They all have to pull an envelope um, out of a, I guess, basket, and they have these words on it, and they have to, kind of accept these words and see how these words affect them. Cornelius pulled indifferent. He's shocked that he got the word because he is indifferent to things. And he's like, God, that was so random. And Iyanla said, no, that was divine. Of course, we know that Dwight pulled in denial. And he laughed and he chuckled and he took responsibility for it. And Lamar pulled Patty. And of course, Lamar don't want to take responsibility for being Patty. So Iyanla and the producers remind him that he was Patty. And they show 3 clips of him being Patty and saying, making Patty comments and Patty statements. And he says, if this is going to be what's going to help us get through the process, then you know what, I'll go ahead on and accept that. And Iyanla was like, no, what you're going to do is you're going to be present up in this blickety flickety. And you know what? He gets to the point where he doesn't even want to be there anymore. See, because he all this is fun and games for Lamar. He wants to play the game the way he want to play the game, because he used to shucking and jiving and two-stepping and tap dancing around everything that's in his life. And so when he's confronted with Iyanla, he says he's ready to go. She said, I'm ready to leave the house. And she said, what, to just go outside, like drink, smoke a cigarette? I mean, do you want to walk around the lawn? You feel like doing some splits or something in y'all? And he's like, no, I want to leave, period. I got other things I got to do. His wife, for one time, Yakara turns around and she's like, that's so embarrassing to me. It's disrespectful and it's not funny. And he's looking at like, I ain't trying to be funny. I'm ready to leave. I got other stuff and better things that I could do. And Iyanla tells him she's not going to fight him for his healing. This mofo acts like a straight up a hoe. So she dismisses the men, because you know what, it's time to go down and hold down. When she dismisses him, the young ladies that are in the room with her, LaGena and Marcia, like they are really like apologizing to her because that is so embarrassing. But she never cracks. One thing that I noticed about her is that her heart is so hard that she does not show any type of emotion. And when she does show emotion, it's for a very quick second. I guess 18 years of being abused mentally, physically, and emotionally by a man would cause you to have a hard exterior, but a broken heart in the inside. I was just so like done for her. Like I really felt for her. Like I am so serious. I really felt for her. I don't know. Lamar gets out. Iyanla talks to her individually and asks her why isn't she angry. She said, I am angry, but what is it going to do for me to, get emotionally or to deal with it? And she's like, what it's going to do for you, sweetie pie, is to release the pain and the hurt that's inside of you. She eventually releases it. In the meantime, Lamar's outside talking to the guys. See, because what ended up happening was Iyanla confronted him. When he decided he wanted to leave the house, she confronted him about the conversations that the producers had shown her that morning, where he had made a bet with the guys that he would not cry and not get emotional, that he would be the only one who would leave out the house a straight soldier. But you know what? Vulnerability is the most powerful thing that you could ever show to somebody when you are trying to be remorseful and you are truly repentful for what you did. He made a joke out of the whole process. This is a mockery to him. And you know what? He got his butt bust out. And so the guys are out there trying to talk to him while Iyanla is trying to talk to his wife. And they're telling him, man, you got 3 sons that are sitting back looking at you. You have to be a role model. He says, I am a good role model. One of the things that he said in the session with Iyanla when he decided to leave was that he was her pastor. What the does that mean? What do you mean you're her pastor? Do you mean that you're the Lord and you're the Savior and you're the shepherd and you're the rescuer of her? Like, what did he mean by that? He never was able to define what he meant by being somebody's pastor. Is he to be worshipped and to adored? What do you mean, mofo? That embarrassed his wife. And I think at that time she made a decision that, you know what, I don't want to be with him anymore. We see him going upstairs and he starts packing his stuff. Iyanla comes up there and talks to him and tells him, do you know how bad this has hurt your wife? But you know what the thing about it is, the wife needs to step her panty game up and go up there and confront her own husband. She comes up there and she talks to him in this monotone type of, you really hurt me and I don't think that we can be together anymore. Girl! No, you don't have to scream and you don't have to holler. But you have got to show some emotion past just a little. And that's why he decided that he was going to take her out to another house to talk to her. Because he felt like he was finished with the process. So she needed to go too. Now he wants to blame Iyanla and the cast for everything that happened, and Iyanla knew it. She knew that he was going to get into that blame game thing and start blaming her. And that's exactly what he did. He said he don't give a F. And, you know, kudos to Iyanla for putting him out. She didn't put him out. What she told him was, if you are not going to participate the way that you need to and be present, then you need to leave. He claims that he got everything he needs. He got the tools, that everything. But he got to roll out. Well, go ahead on, go by. Let her stay by. But you know what? As a weak, broken, manipulated woman, she goes into the house with him and they have a dialogue. Iyanla knows she's in crisis. He locks the door. They knocking on the door. He won't open up the door. And how about the producers took and used the key and came up in that blickety-fickety and was like, we're going to watch you, my brother, until you get up in that car and roll up out of here. He got his military duffel bag, his backpack on him. And he, you know, he basically is trying to convince her to stay. And she's like, no, I'm going to go through the process. But you know what? She's so weak. God. In that moment, she was weak. Because this is behavior that she is familiar with. 18 years of being manipulated and controlled by this man who is her pastor. And you know what? It is amazing when he said that. And not to dog the church out, but it's so many people who are under the spell of their pastors. And they know their pastors is good for nothing. Bloopity bloop 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 and bloop 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 and bloop bloop bloop. But they stay up under them anyway. And, you know, and I don't know if it's because they want a leadership title. They don't feel significant in the world. So if they rise up in the church, they feel like they this and that. They got a title and people reverence them as they reverence their pastors who they know ain't worth a good gosh damn. Thus we see her. She comes back on a thing and Iyanla asks her, why you take your mic off? Because we was having a private conversation. Boo, ain't nothing private. If you want to roll out with him, roll out. She decides she's going to stay. Iyanla talks to him as he's getting in the truck and tells him, if you leave, you'll never be able to repair this. At the end of the day, he comes back to a reality and he becomes vulnerable. And he says that the reason why he acts this particular way is to protect himself. So Iyanla puts him in a hospital bed. And she has all the other couples to come up and tell him how they see themselves in him. Dwight talks about, you know, the control. How he felt like, you know, he was controlling Marcia. Marcia comes up and says, you know, basically people don't understand us. We're not being heard. Iyanla tells him that she realizes that his wife is an abused woman. But she also realizes that in her being abused, that she has abused him too. And he's thankful that she sees him. he realizes that he has been a complete and total failure at being a husband. And he's ready to take responsibility. At the end of the day, she comes up and Iyanla tells her he's laying on the hospital bed and everything, and they're sitting at his bedside, and she tells him she should let him die. And I was thinking, how unfair for you to say something like that when you enabled and allowed the behavior for 14 years. How can you, 18 years, how can you blame somebody for doing something that you have allowed to be done to you? People, we have got to open up our eyes and realize that we cannot make our sadness, our depression about other people. When do we get out of the mindset that it is their fault and I shouldn't take any responsibility? We can't. We have to take ownership and responsibility, turn the mirror to ourselves, and find out where we need to fix it at. Fix it and be done with it and move on with a happy life. This episode wore me out. Like it wore me out. So at the end, Cornelius and LaGena stayed together. They decided they're going to work on it. Marcia even stayed with Dwight and decided that they're going to work on their marriage too. Yakara and Lamar tried it, but she didn't see any change in him, and she's filing for a divorce. My final word on that is duh. You said it from the giddy up. You came there with this boldness. And that's not what you did. So I want to thank you all for coming out and reviewing this. Again, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you would like to see more. We will be reviewing next week Iyanla, which she is talking to inmates and trying to help them overcome things that have happened in their life. At the end of the day, this channel is made with you in mind. If you are someone who is suffering abuse, whether it be mental, physical, emotional, psychological, you can get out. There is help available for you. You just got to reach out and touch it, grab it, snap it. It's yours. It is yours. Be blessed. And until next Sunday, same time, same place, same auntie channel. See you then. Love you.